The Shadows of Mordeth. Part 1. The Journey. In the autumn of 1923, as the earth turned to wear the shroud of desolation, I, Victor Blanchard, embarked on an ill-fated expedition to the distant and forsaken village of Mordeth. A curious letter had arrived from an old acquaintance, Dr. William Thorne, imploring my aid in deciphering a series of ancient scrolls unearthed during an archaeological excavation. The village, nestled within the embrace of the Carpathian Mountains, had long been subject to whispers of shadows and other worldly beings, and had been all but forgotten by modern civilization. Upon my arrival in Mordeth, I was struck by the eerie silence that hung over the village like a thick, suffocating fog. The ancient and crumbling structures seemed to be infested with an unnameable aura of dread. The villagers, with eyes both fearful and suspicious, were sparse in number and conversation, as though the secrets of the village were better left unspoken. The scrolls. I joined Dr. Thorne in the study of a decrepit house that served as his base of operations. The scrolls, worn by the passage of time and written in a language unrecognizable to either of us, appeared to be of an unfathomable antiquity. Within the cryptic symbols and drawings, I sensed a terrible truth hiding in the shadows, a truth far beyond the realms of human understanding. As we continued our research, a troubling pattern emerged. The scrolls, when translated, seemed to detail the worship of an ancient, malevolent entity known only as the Shadow King. This being, according to the texts, was believed to exist in the spaces between dimensions, ruling over an abyssal realm of darkness and chaos. The Descent. In the dead of night, we were roused by the sound of panicked voices and frenzied footsteps. The village was in the throes of chaos. The villagers, driven to madness by the encroaching shadows, had begun to perform ghastly rituals under the influence of the Shadow King. A once familiar world now seemed twisted and monstrous, its denizens transformed into nightmarish creatures with features both hideous and indescribable. As the moonlight waned, we sought refuge in the catacombs beneath the village church. There, in the cold embrace of darkness, we discovered the true horror of Mordeth, a colossal portal pulsating with an alien energy and bathed in an eerie spectral light. The air was thick with whispers, voices from beyond the veil beckoning us toward the yawning maw of the abyss. The awakening. The portal, it seemed, was a gateway to the realm of the Shadow King. As we gazed into the swirling darkness, we could feel our minds beginning to fray, the very fabric of reality unraveling before our eyes. Despite our attempts to resist, we were drawn inexorably towards the vortex, as though our souls were being devoured by some unseen force. The moment our flesh touched the surface of the portal, we were transported to an unimaginable plane of existence. The realm of the Shadow King was a place of eternal night, a void where time and space held no meaning. Surrounded by the phantasmal screams of the damned, we beheld the true form of the Shadow King, a grotesque amalgamation of darkness and malice, a being of such eldritch horror that the human mind could scarcely comprehend its existence. As we stood trembling before the monstrous deity, we knew that we were but insignificant specks in the grand tapestry of cosmic horror. The escape. As our sanity began to crumble, shattering like fragile glass under the weight of cosmic horror, we were gripped by a desperate need to escape the nightmare realm we had stumbled upon. The Shadow King, reveling in our fear and despair, seemed to feed upon our very souls as we struggled against the shackles of our own minds. With every ounce of strength remaining in our frail forms, we wrenched ourselves from the oppressive darkness of that hellish plain, clawing our way back to the cold stone of the catacombs beneath Mordeth. The portal, once a gaping maw to the abyss, now lay dormant, its sinister whispers silenced by our narrow escape. The aftermath. The village of Mordeth, once alive with the twisted frenzy of the Shadow King's influence was now a desolate graveyard, its inhabitants lying broken and lifeless in the aftermath of the horrifying events. We could do nothing but flee that cursed place, leaving behind the ruins of a village consumed by the ravenous darkness. In the months that followed, Dr. Thorne and I struggled to piece together the remnants of our shattered minds. The shadows of Mordeth clung to us, poisoning our dreams and driving us further towards the brink of madness. The memory of the Shadow King and its abyssal realm haunted our waking hours, a reminder of the terrible truth that lurked just beyond the veil of our reality. The legacy. Ultimately, it was the knowledge of the darkness that had driven us to the edge of insanity, and it was knowledge that would serve as our only salvation. We devoted ourselves to the study of the arcane, seeking to uncover the means to protect our world from the encroaching horrors of the beyond. We knew that the threat of the Shadow King and its realm was ever present, a cancer that gnawed at the edges of our reality, waiting for the day when it would once again seep into our world. As we delved deeper into the forbidden lore, we found solace in the thought that perhaps our encounter with the Shadows of Mordeth had not been in vain, for it was only through that terrible ordeal that we had come to understand the true nature of the darkness and the unending struggle that would be required to keep it at bay. And so we continue our vigil, guardians against the unknown horrors that lurk beyond the boundaries of our reality. The legacy of Mordeth serves as a chilling reminder of the thin veil that separates our world from the unfathomable terror of the abyss and the terrible price that must be paid to keep the darkness at bay. The Watchers. As the years wore on, our once youthful vigor gave way to the relentless march of time. We had spent countless hours poring over ancient texts, learning the forbidden arts necessary to combat the encroaching darkness. Our lives had become a solitary pursuit, an endless crusade against the cosmic horrors that threatened the fabric of our reality. Dr. Thorne and I had become estranged from our families, friends, and colleagues who could never hope to comprehend the dreadful knowledge we bore. Instead, we found solace among a small, secretive society of scholars and mystics who shared our understanding of the eldritch forces that threatened our world. We called ourselves the Watchers, bound by a sacred oath to protect humanity from the unspeakable nightmares that dwelled just beyond the veil of comprehension. The Return. For decades, the Watchers maintained our silent vigil, thwarting the efforts of dark cults and malevolent entities that sought to usher in the reign of the Shadow King. We had become adept at navigating the treacherous world of the arcane, employing a blend of ancient rituals and forbidden knowledge to hold the darkness at bay. Yet we knew that our efforts were but a temporary reprieve, a brief respite from the eternal struggle against the abyss. As we grew older and weaker, we began to sense a change in the delicate balance of power. The shadows were stirring once more, drawn by the irresistible allure of the dormant portal beneath Mordeth. The Shadow King, its hunger for our world, never sated, had begun to exert its influence upon the susceptible minds of men, corrupting them with visions of unspeakable horror and driving them towards a singular, terrible purpose, to reopen the portal and unleash the darkness upon our world. The final stand. With our strength waning and our numbers dwindling, the Watchers knew that the time had come for one final, desperate stand against the encroaching darkness. We returned to the forsaken village of Mordeth, now little more than a haunted ruin, its desolate streets and crumbling structures a stark testament to the devastation wrought by the Shadow King. As we stood upon the threshold of the catacombs, we steeled ourselves for the battle that lay ahead. There, in the very heart of the abyss, we would confront the Shadow King and its unholy legions, and we would either triumph over the darkness or be consumed by it. With grim determination etched upon our faces, we descended into the depths, armed with the knowledge that had been both our salvation and our curse. The fate of our world hung in the balance, and we knew that there could be no turning back. In the cold, suffocating darkness of the catacombs, we waged our final battle against the horrors that dwelled within. It was a war of attrition, an endless struggle against an enemy that threatened to overwhelm us with sheer, unimaginable terror. Yet, through sheer force of will and the power of the arcane arts we had mastered, we held the darkness at bay, pushing it ever closer to the brink of oblivion. And then, at last, as the final echoes of battle subsided, we stood victorious. The portal was sealed once more, the Shadow King banished to the unfathomable depths of its abyssal realm. We had succeeded in our mission, but at terrible cost. As we emerged from the catacombs, broken and weary, we knew that our lives would never be the same. The world had been saved, but we, the Watchers, would forever be haunted by the knowledge of the darkness that lurked just beyond the boundaries of our reality. We would carry the burden of more death